tried to stab up the pastor in the church.
Why?
Because he told me that I had demons. Yeah, I regret it a lot.
He was labeled unstable, sectioned, alone, but pain was just the beginning.
My granddad was a well-known drug dealer. My uncle went to prison for bank robberies and became a drug addict. There was no way out of this for me, if I'm being honest with you. Road life, death, smoking too much skunk, sleep deprivation, a close friend being murdered, and my friend lost his daughter. Now I had the label of being sectioned, being crazy, being a madman. I got 4 years, served 2.
And your Clodies?
Got 37 each.
Lost in the system, he searched for something more.
Gave up my line, and I was going to church every day, not just on a Sunday.
You're now a Muslim?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
From madness to meaning, from labels to legacy. This is the real Hamza.
You know, my name's Hamza. You know, I'm a soldier of Allah, I'm a lion. But it doesn't mean strength on one side. It means on both sides. It's a strength to be open, honest, and vulnerable. It's a strength to be able to show vulnerability and to be able to cry. There's a time and a place for everything.
What's one bit of advice you would give your younger self?
But this has caught me off guard. And I can even hear myself with my voice trembling.
Before we jump into today's episode, we've noticed that 71% of people watching right now are not subscribed. If you're watching this, you're clearly enjoying it. Here's our promise to you. Hit subscribe and we'll keep raising the bar, bringing you the biggest and best guests yet. Sharper conversations, bigger guests, and unfiltered conversations that others won't dare to do. Hit subscribe now.
So if someone was watching this podcast right now and they were only going to listen for the next 30 seconds, what's one bit of advice you would give them?
Oof. And you're on the wrong side of the law.
On the wrong side of the law.
Know what you're out here for. The paper and the pain is imbalanced. And you'll only understand the pain after you give up that road and you try to do the right thing. And that's when you're deep, what comes with it. And you'll realise it's imbalanced.
You had a lot of pain in your life?
100%, I still deal with it now.
And the only reason you can give that advice today is because you've obviously experienced all types of life, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Where we talk about a major change in your life, what would you say one of the major changes in your life was?
Transition. Changing my life. Having to reprogram my mind from subconscious seeds, subconsciously being a product of my environment. Self-development, having to really look at myself, take ownership and accountability for a lot that I've been through, a lot I've done. My battles of mental health, trying to rectify my wrongs. Dean-wise, knowing that my bad deeds outweigh my good. So I'm doing more. Fard's baseline, that means nothing to me because that makes me a Muslim. So I have to do more every day, you know. I consume myself with guilt and others. I consume myself with a lot of self-hatred for a long time. I'm naturally an emotional person. I feel like I feel everyone's pain and they can't feel mine. And I feel like self-compassion is probably one of the last elements of my self-development journey that I need to be on.
When we talk about fear, do you fear anyone in this world?
A lot. And so not a person, no.
Have you ever felt
Myself.
Why do you fear yourself?
Because if I crash and burn, I know what I'm on. And I mean that in the aspect of it's going to be another level of consuming of guilt and self-hatred that I don't know if my heart can handle. You know, when I've been in dark spaces before, I was living a life where I didn't really give myself time to deep or reflect things. Now I'm doing good, I reflect on everything.
Let's take it back to the part where you was in a deep, dark cycle of life. There was moments in your life which I'm sure you'd probably say you regret.
Yeah.
Do you regret them, or is it a thing that you're glad it's happened because it's turned you into the man you are today?
Yeah, it's bittersweet. Yeah, I regret a lot, which is why I feel my heart hurts. At the same time, as a Muslim, I know it's all written for me. you know. I lived by Kada, Tawako, Saba, you know. But we were created weak, so which is why we're emotional beings. So I understand that these things are momentarily, but you have to recheck yourself, you know. And that's what brings you back to Dean and reminds yourself, like, no, that was meant to happen for this. You understand it, you accept it now, you understand it later. If you're that much on your self-development journey, you'll be able to look back and say, subhanAllah, now I know why that happened, you know. And it's alhamdulillah for the good, alhamdulillah for the bad.
I stand by that for everything.
Yeah.
That's changed my life in a massive way, where I say alhamdulillah in the good and the bad. I never used to be like that.
Yeah, of course.
And if we're going to talk about a moment in your life where you was 22, you were sectioned, what was the lead up to you getting sectioned?
Road life, death, smoking too much skunk, sleep deprivation, which is a form of torture. Soldiers do it to captives. It can lead to being delusional, being very paranoid, erratic behavior, a close friend being murdered. He got stabbed 16 times by a drug addict. My friend lost his daughter. I broke in a funeral. That's probably the iceberg for me. He was carrying a coffin on his own. It was about the size of a shoebox. And yeah, that was the icing on the cake for me. I think it was that day or the day after was that when I actually got sectioned.
Before we dive into the reason you got sectioned and what actually happened that day, I want to take us back to, you're 40 years old now.
Yeah.
22, 18 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit further. So let's go to the 18-year-old you. What was life like when you was 18? I know you said there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it. What was a day in the life of you when you was 18?
Curb life. Usual nonsense. Selling and robbing.
What age did you get involved in the road life?
Little things from young, but yeah, probably from secondary school.
Was there people around you who, like, what's the word, helped you get involved in the road life?
Nah, not helped me. We moved area. It was too late by then. My granddad was a well-known drug dealer. My uncle went to prison for bank robberies and became a drug addict. You know, there was no way out of this for me, if I'm being honest with you.
Would you say it was a product of your environment?
100%.
And do you believe in that? Do you stand by everyone as a product of their environment?
No, not everyone, because I broke the cycle with my little brother. He's a thriving director, and he's never been on roads in his life. He's the first man in my family to go to university.
And what do you think made him different?
Seeing what went on around him.
Because I once read a quote that says, if you have an alcoholic father and you have two kids, one's going to become an alcoholic, the other's going to stay as far away from it as possible. Yeah. Would you say that's a similar thing to what happened with you and your brother? 100%.
Yeah. He didn't, yeah, 100%. Yeah. He don't smoke. Yeah, cannabis was definitely a part of what led me to being sectioned. And yeah, choices. And subconsciously being products of our environment. Your friendship circles. All these things are different, you know. I've seen the people he grew up with. Like, I remember one of his friends for their 18th birthday, their parents bought them a flat in Saint-Tropez and paid for him, my brother and a few of them, rest of them to go over there. Like, that didn't even make any sense to me.
Where you was involved in the road life, was you given a road name?
Yeah.
Or a tag name they called it?
Yeah.
What was yours?
Flash, but it wasn't because I was on the roads.
And why was you given Flash?
Because I was very fast running 100 meters.
That's literally it?
Yeah.
So there's no hood story behind that? There's nothing at all?
I was a fast runner, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so, and even like football days, like, they make me race whoever the fastest was on another team. You know, and yeah, Flash just stuck. Yeah, I was a fast runner. I'm Jamaican, I guess it comes with the territory.
All right, but listen, let's dive a little bit more into your life. I want to hear the stories. From young, you was involved in the crime life or the road life, let's call it. Or even let's call it making wrong decisions.
Yeah.
Because I think that's more down the route you want to go down. It was simply wrong decisions you made that led you into the position you're in today. At 18, you'd wake up in the morning. What was your routine? What was your life like?
Even just before that, I'd say that I say this all the time. I didn't choose to live the life I was living, but it's my choice to change it. You know. But regarding what I was doing at 18, living by the phone. Yeah, you live by man's phone, and then whatever else is going on around us. Like, you wake up, man's paper.
I saw a podcast you done where you said I only ever got involved in marijuana.
Yeah.
I never touched any other drug. Yeah. And you made it very, very clear about 100%. That. You didn't want to let anyone know that you mixed. You didn't want nothing else. It was weed and only weed.
Yeah, that's never been my thing.
And why are you so strong on that? Why is your thing it's only weed?
I've never been a, what's the word? I'm not intrigued by drugs. Cannabis has been my culture. So it was seen as norm, and it wasn't classed as a drug. It was just a thing that we did, you know. I started smoking cigarettes after I gave up weed, you know. And I'd say cigarette is a stronger drug than cannabis, because I believe cigarettes are physically addictive and weed's mentally addictive.
Do you class marijuana as a drug still?
Now, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, especially with the type of skunk that's out here now.
Did you back then?
No. I thought I was going to be an old man bunning weed. Have a little cessplit here and there, and I thought that would have been me. But it weren't meant to be like that.
So from young, you was involved in selling it, right?
Yeah.
From
started weed, yeah. Maybe year 9.
And where we say you just said started with weed.
Yeah.
What did it end up with?
Everything.
So you was involved in everything.
As in selling, yeah.
Yeah, selling. Yeah. Everything goes.
A good businessman is a good middleman. So whatever's there that needs to be, I'll get rid of it. It doesn't matter what it is. But it weren't like, not to say that was my lane, but I'd do what I was doing. But if anything else was around, then yeah, that can get gone.
All right, so let's dive into that a little bit. Where you were saying you were selling anything done, you were there to make money. Was you doing it to make money, or was you doing it to get a name on the roads?
No, it's for money.
That's all you cared about then?
Yeah. I went to 2 different secondary schools. Well, 3, sorry. 2 of them were uniform. The 3rd one wasn't. That's when I really realized my situation quite quickly. Even down to little things to now, like I'll remember them. Like I was wearing shirts and other kids were wearing the Ben Sherman version, and a man would be like, "Oh, that's a Ben Sherman shirt." I'm like, "No, it's not." But that was the difference. Certain men would have Nike tracksuits or Adidas tracksuits, and mine had the UC on it, which stood for Used Company. I'll never forget them tracksuits. My mum got me in every single colour. You know, the only thing I got away was with the Reebok Classics, because they were £35 back then times. The minute my foot crossed over and it was 55, I had to find like £20.
And for you needed to make ends meet, basically?
No, I wouldn't say ends meet, because my mother provided. These were things I wanted. I didn't need them. I realise that now in reflection, you know. So, yeah, they were wants. They weren't needs. There's a lot of things that we all want. We don't need them.
That's true.
But we say we need them. We don't need them. They're wants.
And earlier on you said you was really good at football, really good at running.
No, I wouldn't say I was really good.
Well, you was a fast runner, right?
Yeah, fast runner, runner. Football, I don't know, right? I played for Hendon.
Well, was there never a part of you that said, you know what, I'm on this bad path.
Yeah.
I'm really good at this, or really good at running. I'm sure in school people told you you're really fast. Would you never?
Yeah, I was trying to take that serious for a while, but it was just kids stuff, innit? Like, everyone wanted to be a footballer.
True, everyone wants to be.
But when you get to a certain age, one, being a product of your environment and your friendship circle, you take on things that are going on around you and what you see, and they become your wants, which you then think are your needs, and they're not your needs. And then you put yourself under pressure to get those things. And if your family aren't financially able to get them for you, and everyone else has got them around them,
you need to get it yourself. What's going on, guys? This video is sponsored by Aspen Morris Solicitors. Aspen Morris is an award-winning law firm with offices in North London and Central London. They deal with a range of areas including property, litigation, and criminal matters. If you want to get in touch with one of the best law firms in the whole of the UK, get in touch and let Aspen Morris deal with all your problems right now. And what did you do the day you got sectioned? What happened? Let's dive into that story.
So, as I said, I didn't sleep for probably between 6 and 8 days, something like that. My mother put sleeping tablets in my food, and she was saying I'm going to knock out on the roads. I'd done something stupid in my area and I needed to leave. So I called a cab and I went to stay back in Hackney, my old area. And on that journey, the cabman took a route that ended up going past the girl's house that I was seeing at the time, who had my chain, which was, and I'm not even a chain guy, but it was my friend's chain who had been murdered. She took it off my neck without me even noticing. So she was with me when my mum had called and said, I'll put sleeping tablets in your food, like wherever you are, you need to go somewhere because you're going to knock out. And when she hugged me goodbye, she was able to take that off my neck without me even realising. When I did realise and the cabman was taking me where I was going, we ended up going past hers and I told him to pull over. I'd been outside there once before, I knocked the door and her older brother come to the door and basically badded me up and slammed the door in my face. He probably would have been like late 20s, I was early 20s. I was polite because I knew it was the family house. But I went back to the cab and I got the samurai sword at the boot and I went back to the flat. Knocked the door again. He tried to talk reckless, cut him off, said what I said. And he had his dog with him and I just told him to control your dog before I do something to the dog and you. Some things are blurry because obviously medication and subconsciously you block a lot of things out. Mm-hmm. But and mind you, this is a summer's day, yeah? And it's broad daylight. And it was 2 roads from the police station. And within moments they were there. First police officer that got out of his car, I swung the sword at him. He backed up, obviously. They blocked me in from both ends of the road, and I felt like I was there for ages. I ended up sitting there smoking my spliff while they were congregating. Mind you, I've got no capacity at this time. I'm talking to myself, and I'm bugging out, and I'm literally breaking down. My friend came with his missus and she was crying when she saw me and I kind of just put the sword on the side. They sent a female officer over to approach me, which was good on their side, but it's poor risk management because they didn't know me. And if I was a man to have attacked a woman, she would have been a casualty. But mental health or not, I've never hit a woman in my life. But her approach and tone and the way she was talking was very calming. And long story short, she led me to the police station, took the spliff out of my mouth, and I was put in a van and off we went to the police station.
Regarding that story, if that was to happen today, it would have ended in 2 ways. Either you being dead or you being in prison for a very, very long time.
And labelled a terrorist, now a Muslim.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Why do you think it ended up with you being sectioned and not being shot at or being put in prison?
One, because armed police wasn't there.
Armed police didn't arrive?
No. As I said, it was two roads from the police station. So they probably just sent whoever was there.
Well, and they didn't come at all while you was there? No. While that whole thing was going on, no armed police turned up?
No.
Armed police.
So this is what, we're in 2025 now, so 18 years ago. So what's that, like 2007? Yeah. But then even in recent cases, look what's happened. Remember, I work for a forensic mental health team now. And like 2 years ago, they killed a black man in the community and he had no weapon. Another gentleman, I think it was either in Manchester or Birmingham, he got tasered and they killed him.
I saw that.
I think there was a guy that fell in the Thames after the police had approached him. And these are all without weapons. So look what they're doing to them. Of course, if this was now, it would have went left for me. These are things that give me survivor's guilt. You know, these are other things that I could see myself with. Like, how come I caught a touch? You know?
I've spoke to a few people previously who have been sectioned, gone to a mental institution, and they say it's the worst thing that has ever happened to them. They're drugged up with medication, they're injected with stuff to make them controlled, they call it.
Yeah.
Did you experience them kind of that situation?
To a degree, another element of survivor's guilt. Yeah, I was forced medication, but I was never given any injections. Injections are normally sedatives.
They call it the...
rapid tranquilizer.
Yes, that's it.
They attempted to do it twice to me. One time my mother protected me, and another time a patient protected me. As I said, these are another things that I survivor's guilt because I caught touches, you know.
Now you look back at that situation that happened regarding you being sectioned.
Yeah.
Would you say you was mentally unstable?
100%.
And what would you say the cause of that is? Lack of sleep or too much?
That was a big factor. That was definitely a big factor. I thought I had mouth cancer as well.
Mouth cancer?
Yeah.
Why did you think that?
I went down a rabbit hole of the internet. My mouth was very dry to the amount of cannabis I was smoking. Instead of thinking it was cotton mouth, a lot of symptoms lined up with mouth cancer. I remember one time vividly, I was showing a lot of people my tongue and saying I got mouth cancer and this, that, and the third. My friend's mum says one of the first times that I met her, I told her I had mouth cancer, which I don't remember, but I do remember thinking I had it and saying that to other people. It was ruled out when they actually took me from hospital to go and get checked. And what they said was that the pigmentation in my lips had changed due to the amount of cannabis I was smoking.
So you were smoking a lot of cannabis?
Yeah.
How much are we talking?
I wouldn't be able to say amounts. It was just normal to smoke. Yeah.
What, 5 zoots a day?
Nah, man, nah, much more.
More? 10?
Yeah.
What, you were smoking zoots as if they were cigarettes?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So you was high 24 hours a day?
No, because at that stage, remember, it's like, I don't know.
You got used to it?
Yeah, your tolerance becomes high when you do something so often. Same with an alcoholic, you know?
Wow. And obviously you was affording all that through selling drugs?
Yeah.
Smoking that much weed, no matter what people think of it, whether you think it's a drug, whether you think it's natural, whether it is or isn't, it's going to affect you.
100%.
Doing too much of anything is going to have a bad effect on you. Even if I was to have too much energy drinks or too much chocolate, for example, it's going to make me act in a way I shouldn't act.
Yeah.
Smoking that large amount of drugs, how did you get over that addiction? When you was put into that section?
I didn't get over it. I was forced to stop. I was smoking cannabis when I was in the mental health institution. So initially I got nicked and they gave me a 28-day section. So I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act 136, which is where the police have the power to section you. Mm-hmm. They hold you for 28 days. That kept getting reinstated because I was smoking cannabis on the premises.
How was you getting it?
Same way you can get anything in prison. Where there's a will, there's a way. But you can't smoke in hospitals now. You can only vape. So there was no act. It wouldn't even be possible for them to do that now.
Yeah.
But then obviously everyone could smoke tobacco, so you had like your burn and your Rizzler and that. So once I got weed, I was able to bill it. You know, and you had a smoking room on the ward. So
and you were just in there smoking weed.
Yeah, and then by the time they'd come, what can you do? The weed's gone.
You've smoked it.
But then every Friday you sit with your doctor, a psychologist, and I think a nurse, and they discuss like your sleeping pattern, your eating habits, and your behaviour throughout the week. And it's about figuring out what's going on, progress, things like that. And obviously with me continuous to smoke weed and things like that, they started reinstating my days. So where I was only supposed to be there for 28 days, I ended up being there for 3 months and in 2 different hospitals.
So you was in a total of the mental home for 3 months?
Yeah, 2 different hospitals.
Total 3 months though, right? And there was no... You weren't getting sentenced, you weren't getting charged, nothing of the sort?
No. So, and I found out the reasons why for this later. So as I said, I work for a forensic mental health team now. There are things that happen, hence the term a moment of madness, which means that you do something without the capacity. So, for example, if you do something and you don't have capacity, you won't be charged for it as a criminal.
You won't be charged?
You won't be charged for it as a criminal.
Okay.
But then if it's something serious, you'll be put in a hospital for it. So then that's why there's secure units and places like Broadmoor. They'll end up in there for a long period of time. So even if someone commits murder but they don't have the capacity, doesn't mean that they're not going to get charged or they'll be free in the streets. No, they could serve that life sentence in the hospital. But the difference is there'll be forced medication, and anytime they kick off, it could be a rapid tranquilizer, which is something that could either knock out a horse or a lion. And depending on the dosage, could knock them out for a day or 2.
You've been through that whole sector of things, and now you're working in it as well, so you understand it more than anyone.
Yeah.
So from someone of your expertise and someone who's been through it, how can you judge if someone has the capacity? Because anyone who gets sectioned, everyone throws around the word capacity. And that, even down to the police, the first thing they say if you want to section someone is, do they have the capacity?
Yeah.
Someone close to me got sectioned, and we self-sectioned them, and we had to say they didn't have the capacity. That word to me, when it was happening, I never even knew what it meant. I just didn't understand it. And my dad was explaining to me, it means, can they control themselves? Are they doing it themselves? Is it them? Or is it a mental thing? Is it taking over their body? And with mental health, one thing I've learned is how can you say that that person is mentally unstable, or how do you say that that person is genuinely a criminal? Because everyone can act as well, right?
Yeah. So it gets a bit political, and I can only give my opinion. So and why I say that is there's a role for that, the person who decides if that person has capacity, and what they do is they conduct a mental health assessment, and usually that role is by someone who's called an AMP, and they'll conduct that mental health assessment, and then they make a decision whether that person should be sectioned or not.
Okay.
Now, for me, in my personal opinion, as I said, it's just an opinion, as I'm not a professional in that role.
Yeah.
That's a specific role. I think it's still, there's a grey area in it where it's subjective. The reason why I say that is because, all right, let's word it like this. You go to court or trial for a crime you've committed, yeah? The judge isn't there to convict you. The police have already charged you, yeah?
Yep.
The jury is there to decide whether you're guilty or not guilty. If they find you guilty, what's the judge's job? To now sentence you, yeah? But that's subjective to a point. And the reason why I say that is because the law has guidelines based on charges.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I don't know, whatever your charges is, let's say the guidelines for that is 4 to 6 or 4 to 8. That means that there's a low tier and there's a high tier and there's a middle in between that.
Yep.
If you give that same charge to 5 different people and 5 different judges, just give them the sentence.
They'll all be different.
They could all be different, but they'll still be based within that range.
Definitely.
But why aren't they all given the exact same? Because it's down to the judge, isn't it? He makes that decision. That's his power. Yeah, so it's subjective to a degree, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So on the mental health side, it's similar. And this is why, for me, it can be patronizing. Because you don't know what that person's been through, what their level of fear is. Everyone's patience and tolerance level is different. What everyone's gone through in their life's different. And if you've got a good guy who wants to give someone a chance and the benefit of the doubt, he may say, no, they're going through something right now. But he's going to be all right. I'm going to put some things into place and we're going to work with him. Mm-hmm. We're not going to put him in hospital. Another man might say, yeah, he's going through some stuff, but he's better off being in hospital. So I'm going to section him.
Yeah.
It's still subjective. They're both got the same role. They've got the power to make that decision there and then.
So based on that then, would you say that everyone has a certain degree of mental health?
I wouldn't say everybody has mental health, but no one's exempt from mental health.
Okay.
There's tiers to everything and levels to everything. Just because I got sectioned and I went to hospital doesn't mean that someone else can't have mental health just because they haven't been to hospital. You could lose your parents and have a mental health situation.
Yeah, definitely.
You could lose your job and have a mental health situation. Mental health has risen since COVID. People being in their house for so long. Relationships, lack of money, job, all these things can affect your mental health.
Do you think the word mental health has now become some sort of a fashion?
I wouldn't say fashion. Everything's got pros and cons, and I'm solution driven rather than problem driven. I identify problems and then try to figure out the options and the solutions and how we can move forward from those. So regarding it being brought up a lot now, I see it as a positive because I'm here to create awareness, and especially on the men's side of things. So for me, I use it as a bonus and as a plus and as a driving force. But yeah, there's going to be cons to it.
Sectioned at 22, you went through the whole sectioning thing. You come out 3 months later.
Yeah.
Would you say you was in a lot better position when you come out? Worse off, or
not worse off,
but no improvements?
Because I wasn't being erratic and I'd stopped smoking cannabis. But then I had a lot of other elements to deal with that I'd never dealt with before. Now I had the label of being sectioned. I had the label of being crazy. I had the label of being a madman. I had the label of he's been on medication and he's still on the medication. I had the whole area talking about me. A lot of things I couldn't remember. A lot of things I did remember, which were embarrassing. So I isolated myself a lot. I didn't want to bump into anybody because everyone I bumped into had a story of how I was acting, which led me up to being sectioned. So then there was a lot of layers of embarrassment, guilt, which just made me want to gobble myself up, you know? I tried to go down the faith route.
Yeah.
So I met two young guys. One of them had changed his life. They were in a church, they were Christian. I'm cool with them up to now. One of them was trying to be a pastor. And they would pray for me. Coming to the hospital every day. These times, man that I grew up with on the curb weren't even coming to see me. So when I got out, I felt like I owed it to them, more even than God. And I've always believed in God.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, nah, these guys like really showed up for me. Plus, like, one of them come from the curb and look what he's doing now. I can do this.
Yeah.
Gave up my line. And I was going to church every day, not just on a Sunday. Funny enough, I was trying to tell man to call me Church.
You wanted people to call you Church?
Yeah, I was telling man, don't call me by my nickname anymore.
Call me Church. That was what you wanted?
Yeah.
So you was really involved in the Christian faith. You dived into it fully.
I gave up my line. I stopped swearing. I weren't linking no girl. But it was hard because it was on my mains. I was sitting on the stoop like it was my block. I was in the church Monday to Sunday. You know? I was going to different churches doing testimonials. I went to a Brixton version of the same church.
Would you say you've got an addictive personality?
Nah, I'd say I've got a...
all or nothing personality?
Yeah, no.
That's you, yeah?
Yeah, man. I've been screaming all or nothing since 07.
I think that sums up your life then, really, right?
Yeah, all or nothing. Yeah.
So let's talk about the church a little bit. You was involved in church. You dived into that strongly.
Yeah.
You're now a Muslim.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. How did that change and when did that change?
So I grew up around Muslims. But I didn't really see much of the practicing side. I got my first Quran from a cabman. He used to drive me around to do what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I just put it in my house at the highest place, like he said, because I'm respectful. But
Sorry, 1 second. So the guy that was driving you around while you was doing what you was doing gave you a Quran?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so...
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah,
I didn't open it. I don't
enough.
even know if it was fully Arabic or Arabic and English or just English, but yeah, that's what it was. Was respectful with it, put it where it needed to be. Some Moroccan guys that I grew up with, they had a little shop in my area. They always used to say I'd be Muslim based on my manners and etiquette. Didn't really hear them then. But yeah, prison is where I found Deen.
So up until you go in prison, you was Flash, right?
Yeah.
In prison, you become Hamza.
Yeah.
So
but still Flash at the same time, if that makes sense.
You're still Flash at the same time, but you started becoming a Muslim and you followed the faith of being Hamza.
Yeah, I was given that name. I didn't choose it myself.
Let's talk about you going prison.
Yeah.
And how the revert happened and how you become Muslim. You went to prison for?
Conspiracy to commit GBH with intent.
That's what you would have been given with the samurai as well, right?
No.
What would that have been?
If they would have charged me as a criminal.
It would have been GBH with intent, right?
Probably. No, not conspiracy though.
No, GBH with definitely GBH with intent, not conspiracy.
Yeah.
Not something we're laughing at, by the way, guys. We're laughing at the fact that it's... Okay, so GBH with intent. Section 18, you said, right?
No, just conspiracy to commit GBH with intent.
Just conspiracy to... Okay. What happened and how did you end up in prison?
Originally, me and my co-defendants were arrested for 1M, 4 AMs, 2 possession of firearms. And then we was on bail for two of us was on bail for about 6 months. And then my Cody, who I go back school days with, got remanded. Me and the other one was on bail, going back to the police station monthly. And then all the charges were dropped on me, and then they gave me a new charge of conspiracy to commit GBH with intent. So I thought it was something completely different. I was like, what's going on here? I asked my solicitor. And they were like, no, this is your charge. But then they got the same charge, which then tied me to the case. Got remanded. Thought I was going to the Ville. Ended up in Bullingdon. But my Cody being an ACAT, when we got there, they put him in a He-Man suit and the next day he was gone straight to Belmarsh. They had me there for a few months. It's my first time in jail as well.
What was it like your first time in jail? Was you scared of jail?
No, I was a bit cheeky, if I'll be honest with you. And when I say cheeky, I mean in the aspect of, because of the age I was at, I thought it weren't on the cards for me anymore. I thought I manoeuvred okay, conducted myself well. So I didn't really think it was a thing for me.
Was it a bit of a reality check when you landed on the wing?
100%. Not as in the surroundings, just like I'm here at this age.
Yeah.
That's what was my reality check.
And where you were speaking to your solicitor,
Yeah.
before you actually got charged or sentenced with anything, what was you looking at time-wise?
Nobody knew.
No one knew.
No.
Obviously, being aware of what had happened, in your head, I'm guessing you made an assumption, I'm looking at this long.
Yeah.
What numbers were we looking at?
I didn't know because I hadn't been to prison before. But then, I was in Bullingdon, it was a remark like...
Everyone's a solicitor in prison, right?
Yeah, so man was telling me 10 and up and this and that and that and this and that. And then I guess when the amount of boxes of paperwork came to my cell door, that's when everyone was kind of like, what's going on? You know? And that's where I was kind of getting stressed now. Because I was like, I can't go through this. How am I supposed to go through this? Like, they want me to look at this, they want me to go through that. I was telling my barrister, like, how am I supposed to prepare for this? Like, what am I doing with this? I'm not doing nothing with this. You know? I hadn't even gone to give plea yet. So I kind of just dismissed it. My head couldn't handle it.
You just said it is what it is.
Yeah. Fast forward, went to Old Bailey for plea. And then I knew I was getting Belmarsh. So then bucked my co-defendants there. And it was kind of just same thing, bittersweet. Good to see them, but not so good to see them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Took my shahada in Belmarsh.
MashaAllah.
But
why did you take your shahada?
That weren't then. I took it a year later.
Okay, we'll dive into that in a bit.
So I got bail from Belmarsh. Remember, it was my first time in prison. And everyone was saying, no, you'll get bail. I was thinking, how? But I did. But then they banned me from London, talking about witness intimidation in London. And I was on tag, and I had to sign into the police station every day, and whatnot. And then closer to the trial, that was the only reason I was allowed to come into London, to go to the barrister and prepare my solicitor. And then I was able to stay with my gran when the trial started. Obviously, trial was supposed to be 6 weeks. It ended up being 12. It was in Old Bailey. And yeah, we all got convicted, found guilty.
How long did you get?
I got 4 years, served 2.
And your codees?
Got 37 each, rec.
37.
So they have to serve the whole 37.
Minimum 37.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was 4 of you in total, right?
Yeah,
Why did you get the least?
because of my charge, which I didn't understand at the time. So when I got found guilty, the prosecution tried to put through sentencing guidelines for me to get 18 to 22. And I remember I don't know the system, but my solicitor and barrister was like, it's not going to happen. They're putting these guidelines through as if you've been charged with conspiracy to commit murder, which wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. So when the judge actually sentenced us and he explained my situation, he goes, this is a high-profile case, and based on it, the sentencing guidelines for your charge are 2 to 4 years.
Okay.
So based on that, I'm going to give you the higher tier, which is serve 4. Because the prosecution, the guidelines that they put through was conspiracy to commit murder. Those sentencing guidelines would have fitted for that, but it wasn't the case. As I said earlier, the judge can only sentence you based on the guidelines,
yep.
But he has range and the power to choose what he charges you with. And that's why I got what I got.
Without diving too much into what happened of the day of the situation, because obviously we're aware that a young lady lost her life, and we don't really want to talk about too much on that due to the family and stuff like that. What had happened that day? And what did you do differently to your codees that made you get a lesser sentence?
What's been said has been public knowledge. I didn't take the stand.
Okay. All right.
So whatever was going to happen to me, which is why I put it out there in that aspect of I'm going to sit here and whatever's going to be for me is going to be for me. So I didn't try to defend myself, you know. Obviously, once a trial's taken place, everything's for public knowledge, so they could dig it up on a laptop now and see who spoke and what was said. Yeah. But I didn't talk at all.
You didn't say nothing?
I stayed in the dock the whole time. I didn't take the stand. I didn't choose to defend myself. Because remember, I'm on a lesser charge, you know. So whatever's going to happen to me is going to happen to me. I'll make it home. So eat what you get given. And that's kind of how I dealt with it.
Did you mentally prepare for a longer sentence?
No, I don't think I could have. How? I haven't been there before, so how am I mentally prepared for something I haven't been through?
When you got told you may be looking at 18 to 22 years, what was that like hearing that? And before you say, yeah, no, not nice, I mean, what was it really like deep down when you sat there in your cell by yourself thinking to yourself, I may be here for the next 18 years? What did that feel like? Because everyone can sit opposite me and say, I'm not scared, I'll ride it, I'll do this, I'll do that. But when you're sat there actually deep in, this could be the rest of my life, how did that hit home?
Yeah, it hit hard, but surroundings made me think about it differently. I'm in Belmarsh, there's a lot of men who have already been sentenced to different birds and bigger than that. Everyone watches the news every night because someone's coming back from court who just got an L. So there wasn't really much I could... Who am I venting to?
Did you have dramas in prison?
Yeah, but not in Belmarsh.
In the first prison?
No, not in Bullet. No, I had one little situation in there, but that was something from the road that I had to deal with. So it wasn't nothing that inflicted harm on me.
How many prisons did you end up in?
3. Bullingdon, Belmarsh, and then I got recategorised. I went to Brixton.
Brixton, you had issues?
Yeah, but that weren't me. That was just more like back in the mandem or something.
Nothing that we need to discuss today?
Nah, nothing that was relevant. Like, it is what it is. As I said, because of the age I went to prison, I know how to conduct myself. If there was a situation that was going to arise, you deal with it accordingly. But it weren't a thing where I had an ego or I had a chip on my shoulder. That would have been the case if I was young, yeah, definitely. It was more of a thing of, I know how to conduct myself and I see angles, so I kind of just put my head down and got some butter. So,
Hamza, regarding the night of the incident or the day of the incident, what happened? I have to ask you it.
I got a blessing out of a tragedy. I'm mindful of how I speak on this due to someone losing their life. And I didn't defend myself in court. I sat in the dock and I didn't speak at all. So I didn't take the stand. And whatever was going to happen to me was going to happen to me, especially being on a lower charge. So what I can say is it's gone through the system, so it's public knowledge. And how it was portrayed in the media because it was a high-profile case was not the case because they said it was a gang-related shooting, which it wasn't. The areas that they said that me and my Codys were from were not. So that in itself made it void. And people that did take the stand spoke, which went against what was put out into the media.
Okay.
So that weren't aligned. This is hard to even speak about, especially in the space that I'm in now, of rectifying my wrongs and trying to make things right, you know? I don't want it to come across distasteful, so I'm trying to answer your question to the best of my ability, at the same time being very mindful, you know?
Do you regret what happened that night?
Of course. For many reasons. But at the same time, as a Muslim, it goes against me saying that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's written.
No. So what I would say is this, it's like, that had to happen for me to be here. That had to happen for me to be a Muslim. Because it's where Allah put me to find Deen and to find Islam. If I had it my way, would it have went that way for me to find Deen And to be in the space that I'm in now, no, of course not. But that was what was written for me.
Definitely.
Does it still hurt? Is it something that weighs on my heart? Yeah, of course it does. Can I change that? No. Can I try to rectify my wrongs? Yeah. Will I do that? Allahu alam. My code is. How would things have been if this situation didn't happen? Would I be a changed man now? If I didn't go to prison at all? Would I have carried on living what I knew? You know? You've got to remember, Allah is all-knowing and all-seeing. It's Ghaib, the unseen. It's only self-development and deen that make you be able to look back and have reflection and be able to say Subhanallah, because you're realising the ayats, the signs, you know? And you'll look back in your life and say, okay, that was meant to happen for this to happen. And that's why I can wholeheartedly say that Allah saved my life. Because of all the events that I've gone through, I'm right now in a space of rebuilding myself in every space that broke me down, which is even why this is hard for me to say now, Subhanallah. Because it's the first time I'm talking about it. It was 10 years ago, you know? And even now I'm talking about it, I'm not talking about it.
Yeah.
But you can hear how hard it is for me to even speak about it, you know? I'm a confident speaker, I'm passionate, I turn my pain into power, normally no questions invasive, a man can ask me anything. But this has caught me off guard. And I can even hear myself with my voice trembling, you know? Because I'm mindful, I'm very respectful. I'm not here to glamorize nothing. I'm here to speak my truth. But at the same time, I have to be mindful in how I'm talking and how I'm addressing certain things, you know? So I think I've answered it to the best of my ability.
Wooly, I think we've made it clear to the viewers why and what did happen. I think they can make their own picture in their head of what had happened. At the end of the day, it comes down to someone losing their life.
Yeah.
That's the that's the story. We don't want to dive too much into that for respect reasons.
Yeah.
Moving on to you taking your Shahada. Would you say it's one of your proudest moments in your life?
Yeah, 100%.
Would you say it was a changing point for you?
Yeah. It was, I forgot I was in prison for a minute, you know?
I want to understand how someone went from saying, call me church, to saying the Shahada.
As I said, I've always believed in God. Even when I got sectioned, I battled a lot with God and the devil, angels and demons. I tried to stab up a pastor in the church before I got sectioned, you know?
Before you got sectioned?
Yeah. Because he told me that I had demons. And in my head, when I was going through what I was going through, who was more qualified to say that I've got demons than a pastor, you know? But subhanAllah, when I came out from being in hospital and I was going to church so often, I would argue in Bible studies, and this is not in a disrespectful manner to anybody who's a Christian, because we believe in the book. The only reason why ours is here because theirs wasn't preserved, you know? Hence why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the last messenger. There wouldn't need to be, if that was preserved, there wouldn't have needed to be another one. In my opinion, that's how I see it, you know? But there was a lot of questions that couldn't be answered. I felt like it was going around things and it was getting me patronised, and I ended up going back to road, which is what I knew. But I always believed in God, as I said. So coming into another dark space in my life, I'd done the Christian route. So this was the only other path for me to go down. When I was on remand, I was reading a lot. Didn't take Shahada. Even when I came to Belmarsh, they was asking me. Didn't happen. Went on bail, came back, trial, guilty, gone back to Belmarsh. And I was like, you tried to swerve it, you know? But at the same time, I was nervous. I was nervous of putting dirt on a clean slate because I'd done it before, you know? And I consumed myself with that guilt before. I didn't want to do it again. The Imam finally came to meet me when I said I wanted to take Shahada, and he was trying to offer me like this little booklet. I was like, I've read that. So he's like, why haven't you really taken Shahada? Like, it seems like your heart's open to it. I was like, because I don't know how to pray.
Yeah.
You know, and he kind of chuckled. And he's like, no, that's something that you'll learn.
Yeah.
So I took Shahada. It was in Jummah. First time there. Had my left hand over my right. Didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to copy everybody. And we done it after. I took my Shahada after with my Cody's either side of me. And as I said, I'm naturally an emotional guy, so I felt myself welling up. and I forgot where I was, and then I remembered where I was. There was a young guy who was on a T-charge, and he was just shouting takbir. And that's kind of what woke me up. And I was looking around at who was around me. And I was just kind of like, yo, pull yourself back together.
I can't look soft in front of everyone.
But subhanAllah, look where I am now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show people that that's a strength, not a weakness, to be open, honest, and vulnerable. You know, my name's Hamza. You know, I'm a soldier of Allah, I'm a lion. But it doesn't mean strength on one side. It means on both sides. It's a strength to be open, honest, and vulnerable. It's a strength to be able to show vulnerability and to be able to cry. There's a time and a place for everything, you know? And these are the strengths that I'm pushing and the narrative that I'm pushing now. This is why men's suicide rate is so high, because men bottle everything up. We don't seek help, we're forced help. You know, we have to go through breaking point before we're ready to be in a space of receiving anything, you know, and a lot of time that's forced. And especially men of ethnic minority, Muslims, asylum seekers and refugees, we get dealt the harsh end of the stick.
So do you think it's okay for men to cry? That's a thing that's always thrown around there with
I do.
Men and women, and it's men should cry more, or men shouldn't feel ashamed to cry.
No, I wouldn't say men should cry more.
As in, men shouldn't feel ashamed to cry.
Yes, exactly.
So you stand by that narrative? Yeah,
and on both sides. One as a man and two as a Muslim. You know? Everything I've gone through in my life, I've seeked and found that information through Islam, and it's justified everything. And that's why another reason why I say subhanAllah so much, because then I find the information, I'm like, okay. When I first started crying in prayer, in Salah, it was happening out of nowhere. And I was crying like a newborn baby to the point where I was shaking. And I thought I was going mentally breaking down again.
Yeah.
I read a book called Purification of the Soul. It was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala softened in my heart. You know? My friend's aunt passed away from cancer, and I went to the janazah, and it was on a Friday, and this was years later, and it was happening again, and this was recent. And I was breaking down, crying in prayer, whether it's Fajr. I've cried in the masjid in Egypt before. I was just breaking down, crying, and I didn't know what was going on until I read the book the first time, and I was like, okay, it's Allah softened in my heart. When it started happening again, I thought that's what it was. I'll send you the clip of it after, because I filmed the Imam reading his khutbah, so I was like, I had to log it. And he was saying, if a man wakes up out of his bed to pray Salah in the night and seeks Tawbah and repents, and he's that sincere, because they're the only two places I can be sincere is on my prayer mat and when I used to rap, yeah? That if he cries once in his whole lifetime, Allah will spare his eyes from the hellfire. And I was doing it numerous times. And subhanAllah, these are the things that would just show me the mercy of Allah, you know, and his power and his blessings and his beauty and the opportunities that he gives us. Even look now, we're in the blessed month of Ramadan. We don't take advantage of these things. Like, we struggle with fraud. How?
Yeah.
How? Look at what we're given. How long does it take to do your 5 Salah?
Not long at all.
You know, my thing is doing something extra each day, because your fard is baseline. You want blessings, you want this, you want that, and the third, but you're not doing what's mandatory of you. How are you expecting that? You're naturally going to be fighting your jinns, nafs, and shaitans whisper. How are you supposed to be strong for that if you're not doing extra? Extra isn't much either. Whether that's dhikr, reading Quran, getting up out of your bed to pray tahajjud. You know, I do 8 rakats, you can do less. You know, 2 for sunnah before Fajr, reading Quran before or after, dhikr throughout the day, learning some more, learning a new dua, charity. Like, remember, we're ambassadors of Islam as Muslims. You know, at the same time, we're soldiers. You look after your body, look after your headspace, look after your spirit. Iman fluctuates. So how are you going to top it up? Ramadan right now, yeah? Our tanks are full because we're all doing the best of our ability, yeah?
Yep.
What's going to happen on Eid? There's going to be a piercing in that, yeah? And your petrol's going to fall out.
Yep.
How are you going to top it up?
You got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, but a father isn't going to top it up, because that's
standard.
That's what's making you a Muslim.
That's true.
So while it's pouring out and you're doing your 5 daily prayers and you're thinking, why is my iman going down? Because you're doing what's obliged of you. You're not doing anything extra.
Yeah, that's your duty as a Muslim.
Yeah. So how are you topping it up?
Yeah, that's true.
By doing more than fard every day. But no one deeps it like that. you know? And then you wonder why you can't fight your shaitan's whisper, why you allow your nafs to take over. At the same time, yeah, things are going to happen because that's life, and we were created weak. But if you're not doing that little extra, then how can you expect more? How can you expect to be better and do better each day? And these are the things that I strive for, you know? And that's why I wholeheartedly say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved my life, and I see everything, what's going on with me. Because it's always all praise to Allah, and that's why it's alhamdulillah for the goodness, alhamdulillah for the bad, even though you can't see it in that moment.
And I think, alhamdulillah, that word alone changed my life. It did. It made me realize that you can't expect good all the time. Bad is going to happen. But it's whether you look at it as a bad or you look at it as protecting you or a blessing or putting you on the right path. Some things you want in life isn't what is meant for you.
Yeah.
And I think that taught me a lot. Because I'm a revert myself.
SubhanAllah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a revert myself. I reverted 3 years ago.
Okay, mashallah, Mubarak. I thought you was a born Muslim.
No.
Okay.
I reverted 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I was new to it. I was in the same situation as you. I never knew how to pray.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still learning like surahs. I'm still learning about it. I'm not a perfect Muslim.
Yeah,
None of us are.
Of course, no.
But the one thing about being a Muslim that I love is the brotherhood. Even that day when we met at an iftar.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Rimsey for that.
Big shout out to Rimsey. Allah Mubarak, man.
We met at an iftar and I walked in and I didn't know no one. A lot of people may have knew me from the podcast or recognized my face, but when I walked in, I was like, and I'm not a shy person.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to like going to Muslim gatherings and stuff like that, I get a bit shy because in my head, I'm not a good enough Muslim to like be there, if that makes sense.
Sorry to cut you. That's your nafs.
Yeah, I know that. But, so when I walked in there, I was like, yo, do I fit in? I'm walking around because I understand there was a lot of revert brothers there.
Yeah.
Most of them were revert brothers. But even me, I was walking around thinking, okay, like, what do I do here? Like, in my head, so many different things are going through my head. And like, I sat there, I walked upstairs, I was like, Ya Allah, like, come on, man, make this easy for me. I was shy.
No,
I'm never shy with nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, Ya Allah, come on, man, make this a bit easier for me. I'm embarrassed, like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I walked downstairs, I spoke to a few of the brothers there, spoke to you, and everything just clicked. I was like in my zone again, back to networking, talking to everyone. And I was like, okay, thank you. Like, love, thanks for that one.
No.
And being a revert, some people don't understand that, like, the little things of praying make a massive difference. I never knew how to pray. I learned. I just watching YouTube videos, brothers, like praying with brothers. I never knew.
SubhanAllah.
I never had no one teach me how to pray.
Okay.
No one, like the first time I went into a mosque, I got interviewed yesterday from my brother who I've reverted with.
Yeah.
And he was like, Mikey, the first time you prayed in mosque, you was looking around, looking at everyone. I was like, yeah, because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, same.
I was trying to follow what you guys are doing, looking at you thinking, okay, cool. So, all right, so he does that. All right, then we go.
I was still doing it wrong.
Yeah. People expect it to be natural. We don't know. I've never done it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I think is amazing. The fact that you're trying so hard to be a better Muslim. Not many people think being a Muslim now is a fashion. Everyone's a Muslim now. Everywhere we go, everyone's Muslim.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, but to be a practicing Muslim or to be labelled as a Muslim is two different things.
100%.
Everyone can say we're Muslims.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing the standard things, in my eyes, you got a lot more to do.
Yeah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give everybody shift on their journey. It's tough times right now, you know? And yeah, man, we need to be mindful of everybody, you know? You never really know what someone's going through. And there needs to be more companionship, unity, understanding. I feel like a lot of elements of humanity being lost, which is another reason why I speak on the topics that I'm speaking about. I've been writing a book. I'm trying to put together a documentary, inshallah. And I've been developing my own program that I would like to go into schools, units, colleges, universities, mental health hospitals and prisons, you know, just to equip people with skills, tools, understanding. And it's more self-development course, but it covers all these dynamics, you know. It's about creating spaces that are open, honest and vulnerable and a comfortable space to have these kind of conversations. So I'm about diluting stigmas and stereotypes, changing the narrative, breaking cycles, helping people understand that unfortunately we are subconsciously products of our environment. Our friendship circles do impact us. Society impacts us, which is why men feel like you can't cry. We always have to be strong. You can't talk because it's seen as a weakness. But it's a strength because it puts you in a space of prevention rather than cure. If you end up in hospital, the cure is going to be medication. That cure could be you not being a risk to the public or yourself. But then who are you? Because the level of medication they might put you on might not make you no more. So yeah, you might not be a risk to anybody physically or to yourself, but you might be left in a space that's not you functioning. You know? I'm here to try and give a little impact in preventing some of that, especially from the youths and even the adults who have been in the services for a long time, and that's the work that I do now.
And to wrap it up on what you do now, what are your goals?
To rectify my wrongs, to create hope, inspire, to shed light, give people a perspective. I feel I speak for the voice of the silent. I'm trying to speak on topics I feel like imbalanced. I'm trying to be an ambassador as a Muslim, so an ambassador of Islam. I'm trying to be an ambassador for mental health. And I'm proof of route to recovery from mental health. I'm proof of rehabilitation from prison. I'm proof of the emotional roller coasters that come with transition and how hard that is, you know. I've dealt with mental health. I've dealt with depression. I've dealt with suicide, you know. I've attempted these things, you know. I've been on medication. I've been on the curb, you know, and I now work in a field where I can be triggered daily. I've done trauma therapy. I've done mindfulness. I've done a course on self-compassion. I've done a course on death and bereavement. These things weren't easy, you know, and I'm not saying that I'm there completely with everything either. But self-development is a long-term journey. Same way learning deen is a lifelong journey.
You said you've been through all of them things you just listed. Depression was one of them.
Yeah.
If there's someone watching this video right now and they're going through depression, what's one bit of advice you would give them? What helped you get out of the depressed cycle? What helped you get out of that cycle?
Identifying your pockets of support systems. There'll be some things I can share with you that I can't share with my mother.
Okay.
There'll be things you can share with a colleague that you can't share with your partner. These are all different pockets of support systems. Identify those and use them. Figure out what your internal support systems are, meaning the system, a mental health call line, your doctor, your GP, third sector, mind. There's even a Muslim group that we work with, her sister is a colleague of mine, who set up a group called Muslim Lived Experience Group. We're a group that create a space, safe space for Muslims to have discussions about their mental health, as even that's another taboo topic, because a lot of the time people just see it as jinn and jinn only.
Yep.
Two things can coexist at once, and sometimes it's one or the other. So sometimes it can just be jinns, other times it can just be mental health, and sometimes two things can coexist at the same time.
And to wrap this podcast up, if you could give a message to your younger self, what's one bit of advice you would give your younger self? Not someone else watching this, but you, someone who's been through your life. There's going to be many people watching this who say, oh, I've been through depression, I've been through this, I've been through that. People class me as crazy.
Yeah.
What's one bit of advice you could give now through going through everything that could try and knock someone back onto that right path?
That's a really hard question, you know. I wasn't Muslim then, so I don't know how I'd answer that as a non-Muslim. As a Muslim, I'd answer it as just saying, stand on Qadar, Sabr and Tawakkul. after hardships, there's ease, you know. Accept what you're going through now, you'll understand it later. Put your trust in Allah. He'll provide, he'll protect, you'll get through it. It's not easy. And sometimes it can even be patronizing saying that to someone that's really in a deep, dark space.
Definitely.
Dua is powerful.
Yeah.
You know?
Dua is very powerful.
Anything you can say to anybody on this planet Earth, this is something I'll say to the Muslims. Anything that you can say on this planet Earth to anybody in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used that person to speak to you and uses you to speak to others. That's why you need to be mindful of how you're dealing with people. Yeah. You could deter or help someone on their path or their journey, Muslim or non-Muslim. Yeah. That's first. But regarding yourself, keep your head on that mat and talk to Allah. The biggest changes you'll see in your life. I'll stand on that wholeheartedly. I've been on there and bared it all. And that's where you're most sincere and that's where you'll see your changes. You know? And you make dua for others first and you last.
And you told me the proudest moment of your life was reverting to Islam.
Yeah.
So a bit of advice for someone who's on that in the middle. They're not sure whether to revert, whether to not. What advice would you give to someone there who's thinking about taking their shahada?
Okay. And just before that, I think I didn't answer your question regarding to the old me. That was to the Muslim me.
Okay.
To the non-me, I don't know what I would really say if I'm honest with you. Trust the process, maybe have some self-compassion and do self-development, probably what I'd say. So to a non-Muslim who's going through something deep and dark, just try to work on yourself, take time, and don't be nervous to open up to people or seek some support systems. And if you can't do it with your friends or family, then do it internally, your GP, or go online and try and find out. Especially nowadays, there's those support systems there, especially regarding mental health. And then the last one, say that for me again, please, brother.
If someone's in the middle, they want to take their shahada, they're watching this and they're now seeing you as a revert, and they're thinking, do I revert, do I not? They've researched into Islam and they're liking the sound of it, and they just need that one last thing to push them to take their shahada. What would you say?
Islam is perfect. People and cultures aren't. Don't be deterred by what you see and what you hear from other people. Seek your own knowledge and research what you can and reach out to who you can. Alhamdulillah, there's a lot of masjids everywhere. There's a lot of pious people everywhere. Reach out to them, do your own research, and you'll know in your heart when you're ready. You know, you'll make that step. And from you make that step, don't put no pressure on yourself either. I think that's another last thing that a lot of people do. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Quran was revealed over 23 years, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think it was either 10 in Medina and 13 in Mecca or the other way around.
You're going to know a lot more than me.
No, I'm not going to know a lot more than you.
You're a lot more educated about it than me.
So I say that to say this. If the best of this world was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, they were given Islam to give to us. And it took them a number of years to get to a space where they were at. And we're never going to reach there.
No.
Let's be realistic and logical. Why do we think the minute we take shahada we should be perfect? And why do we pressurize everybody? And why do we openly tell everyone that they're doing haram and they're doing this, that, and the third, and we try to embarrass each other? It's bang out of order. That could deter someone.
Yeah.
That's not helping someone. Be mindful, be respectful, and have some compassion, you know? And when you get in the right groups of brotherhood, which is what's the beautiful thing about Islam, and this is to the person that's on the edge of taking it, when you find that beautiful brother, that imam, that comfortable space in the masjid, you'll see that they're taking you on as bloodline. They got you in all aspects. And you won't understand it because you'll be like, they don't know you. And it feels weird because I felt like it for time, you know? And that's the beauty of Islam and people that take it seriously. You are their brothers in Islam and they love you for the sake of Allah. And I think you can't find that anywhere in the world.
I'm going to call you Hamza, not Flash, because I feel like I'm talking to Hamza now and not Flash.
No.
unless there's anything else we need to discuss today, I feel like it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
No, Jazakallah for having me, man. I feel like I've been a bit nervous.
Nah, listen, I
But,
feel like
alhamdulillah, thank you for having me.
Story come across perfectly. And one thing I'll say about you was the day I met you, when you walked into the iftar, I thought, okay, this guy, cool, something, I'm gonna speak to him today. I'm gonna speak to him today. And I said it to the boys as well after I left there. I said, I knew there was something about this guy before I spoke to him. I'm not sure what it was. I didn't understand why I thought I needed to speak to you. But I can understand why. We was meant to have this conversation and we was meant to meet that day.
100%.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And inshallah in the future, when you've completed more of your journey,
Inshallah.
it'll be a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Jazakallah.
Apart from that, guys, make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.